Hey, it's Kristine from Storyworthy. Today on the show, writer Kristine Kimmel talks about working on a cruise ship.
And so the guy's like, you know this is a crew position, right? And I was like, well, yeah, working as a server, and I have server experience. And he's like, it's a very tough job. Like, we don't usually hire Americans for these positions. Why don't you reapply for a staff position and wait for one of those to open up? And I was like, I'm ready for my international adventure to begin. The main first thing I remember was how tiny the hallways were down on those lower levels where the crew sleeps, and that the hallway getting to my room was full of rotting garbage.
Today on the show, writer Kristine Kimmel talks about working on a cruise ship. Stay close.
Hey, this is Kristine Kimmel, and you're listening to Storyworthy.
Welcome to Storyworthy. My name is Christine Blackburn, and I'm coming to you from Los Angeles, California. Whether you're a longtime fan of the show or a new listener, welcome to Storyworthy. I hope you guys had a chance to listen to the show last week with Jackie, the joke man Martling. Jackie told a story about going to Las Vegas with Rodney Dangerfield. And, you know, Jackie is just one of those... He's been a comedian for so long, and he's just kind of seen it all. So he tells a really funny story about Rodney. And then we talk, of course, all things about Howard Stern. And, you know, I would still like to see the 5 original people get back together, even if just for a short time. But the blood, you know, there's just a lot of bad blood going on, and it's been going on for 21 years, so it's not a new thing. But if you're a Stern fan, you know it because you listen to the show, and everybody, you know, it's kind of like, you know, when they're really avid fans, I guess, Stern fans, like myself. So anyway, I was honored to talk to him. Really nice guy, lives in Long Island. We've been texting. He's been emailing me. You know, little friendship has developed, which is nice. And, anyway, go back, you guys. Listen to Jackie Martling, but not today. Not today, because today I'm here with writer Kristine Kimmel. Kristine with a K, which is the more unique Kristine. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think it's kind of sets me apart in the Kristine universe.
You know, and there's so many.
There's so many of us.
Hey, are you a Howard Stern fan?
I am. You know what? I haven't listened to him in quite some years because I think he's on Sirius now, right? Is that where you find him? And I don't have that system. I don't even know how you find it.
Well, Sirius XM, you subscribe.
You have to subscribe,
you know?
yeah.
Or you know somebody that has it and they give you their password.
Oh, that's what I need. I need that hookup.
Wink, wink. Yes, exactly.
But I was a big Stern fan for many, many years.
Right. So Jackie was on the first 15 years, and then in 2001... there was a contract dispute, and
money,
no
man.
more. He's out. I know. Isn't that a shame?
Yeah.
And Jackie, you know, we talked about that, you know, and we chatted about how, you know, it was a big mistake, but he was listening to his manager.
Okay.
He was listening to somebody, and so it really didn't come from Jackie, unfortunately. And this guy named, he tells me his name because I said, I hate that man. I think it's Leonard. Or it's Kenny.
Either name I'm not a fan of. They both sound like creeps to me.
I know. I said I hate them. I hate them because they told Jackie no, they'll bump it up, and Stern said no.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it is unfortunate that
I hope they can work it out.
It's been so long. I know. And Howard, you know, I still listen to him when he's on. He's on like 3 days a week if it's a good week. But it might be like 3 days and then another 3 days and then off for a month and a half.
Oh, wow. So he's doing more relaxing these days?
He's at home. Yeah, he's at home with his wife, and their schedule is quite, you know, light. It's a 3-day week, really pretty much at the most. And like Thanksgiving, he could be off, you know, till Christmas. I don't know. But when he's on, I laugh my butt off, and everything is funnier than ever. And, you know, he does a lot more serious interviews now. It's not like it's not like those old days in the 80s when Jackie was around, in the 90s when it was just naked girls.
Sure.
it's it's actually progressed.
He's got less testosterone running through his veins now, so he can be a little bit more focused on asking questions instead of just like boobs.
Right, exactly.
That's
and
nice.
He's very happy with his wife. And yeah, but he sits down with like Paul McCartney, Billy Joel. I mean, the top of the top of the top. So it's very cool. But let's not talk about Howard Stern and Jackie Martling. Let's talk about Kristine Kimmel.
Sure.
Yay!
I'll talk about anything with you, Kristine, because you're so engaging and I love your voice. So,
Well, listen, I had so much fun on your podcast, which is a new podcast. It's called How to Survive with Danielle and Kristine.
you were such a great guest.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Now, Danielle Koenig, she's been on Storyworthy just recently as well. And then I met you, of course, recording with you guys. It's a kind of a small podcasting world in a way,
It is.
isn't it? Yeah.
We're just a little gang hanging out.
Yeah, like I saw on your show, Murray Valeriano, and he was just on Storyworthy recently. And then, there's a lot of cross.
There is. I went on his game show.
Oh, did you? How did you do?
You know what? I'm ashamed to say I embarrassed myself a little bit. I just
Why?
thought, I was like, oh, I'm going to kill at this. I have so much music knowledge. There's no way I can lose. And then I did lose.
Shoot. Were you the third?
Yes.
Did you come in first, second, or third?
Third.
Oh, shit.
I know. I was quite surprised. I think it just wasn't my day.
What were some of the questions? Because I know they do get very difficult.
Well, there was one that was so dumb and obvious about Cyndi Lauper that I couldn't even believe I didn't get it. It was like, who wrestled during an MTV match with Lou Albano? And I was like, well, it's not going to be Cyndi Lauper. That's too obvious. So I guessed like something else. I think I guessed like Tiffany.
Oh, my
And it was
goodness.
like, no, it was Cyndi Lauper. And it was like, what, you dum-dum. Why didn't you just...
Oh, my gosh, Kristine,
know.
you sabotaged yourself.
I did. I overthought it.
Well, when I played that game with Murray Valeriano, one of the other contestants was the guy who was on Jeopardy and won
my God.
like 15 times in a row.
my
Plus, he
God.
was in like the City of Champions or the whatever Jeopardy, like at the end of the year. Like one of the smartest people in the world.
You had no chance.
No, I had no chance. I had no chance. Then I just did the show again recently, and he changed it a bit. So some of the questions weren't as difficult. It was more like, name a song that starts with the letter C.
Okay.
Go. And you kind of go back and forth until somebody couldn't think of a song that started with C.
Okay.
Or whatever it
Yeah.
was. So that was a little simpler for me. But yeah, when it gets into the hardcore, who was the bass player of the Kinks when they left England? It's
Yeah,
like,
forget
I don't
it.
know.
No,
Right.
no. It's still fun to do it, though.
Yeah, it's fun. And I like to support, all of our friends and, co-workers, as it were.
Yes.
People in the same industry, because at the end of the day, all ships rise.
Exactly. There's room enough for everyone.
That's what I'd like to say. We're like a magazine shelf, What do you want to look at? Cat
Exactly.
Fancy? You could look at Good Housekeeping. I don't know. There's
I mean-
a choice.
Vogue. Let's get fancy.
Did you want me to dance?
Can you Vogue?
So listen, how did you guys come up with the idea How to Survive?
Well, I
the
think
the
it might-
podcast, because it's let me just tell the
Yes.
audience here that How to Survive is like part serious, how to survive something. And then the other part is like the one I was on, the other part is something that has to do with that topic, but it's more of a story.
Yes, it's a little sillier. I think it's
Right.
probably might stem from my anxiety, and I have, let's say it's a kind of a hobby. I'm not a doomsday prepper by any means, but I am fascinated with things like, the tool that breaks the window out when your car is trapped underwater. Like my husband just bought me that tool that you can break the window.
Oh, okay.
Which is not something that's ever likely to happen to me, but like
Where do you keep it?
you
In
keep
the car?
it on the console. You're actually supposed to attach it to the console of your car, and that way you can grab
Yeah.
it, because if you get in an accident, you're not going to
you
likely
don't-
be able to find it.
Right, you might not be able to get into the glove compartment.
No. So it actually attaches, but So things like that, or like I'm interested in like Leatherman, the knife that does all of the different things.
Oh, I love that.
You know, like I'm into gear, and I'm into like what I always like to think about, like if I'm at the beach, I'm like, what would I do right now if a tsunami came? Would I know what to do? I don't really worry about it. It's not like I'm sitting there freaking out at the beach. I can go to the beach and have a really fun day with my kids and my husband, and I'm not like, oh, a tsunami's going to come. But I'm just like, what would I do if it did? So I'm really fascinated with catastrophes. It's like a weird hobby of mine. I think before I started taking anti-anxiety medication, it was more of like an actual fear where I'd be like, I don't like to be in a movie theater because I'm worried somebody's going to come in and start shooting.
Oh, God. Oh, is that like a newfound fear in the last 20 years, as it were?
Yeah, because I think that's actually become a thing that started happening. But like things like tornadoes and natural disasters, I think have always been something I've worried about because I have high anxiety. And now that I take medication for it, I still think about it, but I don't worry. I don't catastrophize.
Well, that's good.
I just am like, oh, here's what I would do. And so I like thinking about it. And so I'm like, I think other people worry about stuff like this. Let's talk about it on a show, but actually give them tools, and let's make it funny, because why not? Like, we only know how to make things funny, and so we should make it funny.
It makes sense, because it all comes down to the new podcast that you have out, How to Survive, because it is serious. But yet, like you said, I mean, why are you worried about, glaciers running into your house if you don't live in, Antarctica?
Sure. I mean,
like, you don't have to worry about volcanoes, right? Do you worry about them?
I don't. No.
Okay, good.
I mean, like,
what would you do in a tsunami?
I would get away from the water as soon as I can. But first of all, I now know, because we did an episode on tsunamis, and I am actually afraid of tsunamis. It's one of my things. I know what to look for when there is a tsunami. I know that the water pulls really, really far away first from. So if you see a lot of exposed sand suddenly, and you're like, wait, why is there so much exposed shoreline all of a sudden, an unusual amount? That's a sign that things.
I wonder how long that lasts. When it retreats like that. Is that like within 20 minutes, or is it like a day?
It's not usually over a day. It's usually faster than that. But like usually there's an earthquake that precedes it. So if you're like in your mind, you go, wait, I heard a rumbling earlier and now the shoreline's exposing. Then you run and you get as far away from the beach as you can.
The beach. You got to get to higher ground. Do you climb a tree?
If you can't get to higher ground, if you see the wall of water coming, yes. Or get in a building and go to the top floor.
Did you see that movie with Naomi, what's her name?
Campbell? No. Watts. Campbell,
No, Watts.
The supermodel that stars in tsunami movies?
No, but that movie was so good, and it was like the recreation of the one in Indonesia.
No, I couldn't watch it because I was too freaked out about seeing people in tsunamis.
That is intense.
I couldn't. I was like, no, that
would be terrifying. And also maybe because you've worked on cruise ships, like that's your title today. That's the story you bring today is called Working on a Cruise Ship. Maybe that's part of it, right? Because maybe you've got this whole ocean thing going on.
It's possible.
Well, I'm really excited to hear your cruise ship story. How long did you work on a ship?
It was a very, very short stint. Like
just a weekend or a week? Yeah, a week. Because people do 2-month cruises or, 10-day cruises. I mean, I'm talking about the entertainers.
Sure.
They could stay on a boat for
They sign
4
contracts
months.
to do long stints, right? I know a lot of comedians who do that sort of as a living, and they go out for contracts that last quite a long time.
Right, of course. And it can be fun, but I know the other side of it too, because I was on 2 cruise ships with a comedian, And, so I kind of saw the inner workings of things. I saw how tight they were on the clock, like how they were so careful about every minute counted, for his set, but also rehearsal time, or everything was about the time. Maybe that's I know it's with flying, because I used to be a flight attendant, but
were.
I was, but maybe I'm just thinking of the particulars of when you get into the travel industry on the employee side, like it's more about the time.
Interesting.
Wait, don't you think? Because you worked on the ship.
Yeah. Well, I'll get into it. My experience was very intense.
Okay. Oh, I can't wait. Okay, good. Now, the cruises I got to go on were called, they were called Royal Cruise? No, it was called, oh my gosh.
Well, there's Royal Caribbean.
No. This was like much higher up. Like,
you went really high.
Not Crystal, but the other one.
Let's see. Palmetto. I'm just making up things now.
You're so funny. Isn't that funny? I forget. It doesn't matter, but it was like a luxury cruise line of all old people, really.
Okay.
Old white people.
Of course.
Is what it was, yeah.
That's the only people that can afford it.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And it was super fancy. Everything's included, and everything was like just really high end. But like I said, it was all people over 70, 75 even.
Yeah.
I mean, really older. And these people, like, some of them live on the boat. They stay on the boat. They'll have a suite and they'll live there for 3 years and just travel around the world. And that's just their home. They might not even go into the dining rooms or the showrooms. They might just stay in their suite and hang out for months. Can you imagine that?
It's such a strange way to travel to me. And, like, it's so insulated and protected.
Yeah.
But I guess that's appealing to older people who don't want to walk on unstable sidewalks and maybe get in an Airbnb that has, drafty windows. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I'm anxious to hear your story. And before we get over to your story, I did want to remind everybody that we're back at the Hollywood Improv playing Story Smash, the storytelling game show. We're generally the last Saturday of the month. So the next show is November 27th. But then in December, we were scheduled for Christmas Day, and they're closed Christmas Day, so we're going to be on New Year's Eve.
Ooh.
So I'm excited about that. Yeah, New Year's Eve at the Hollywood Improv playing Story Smash. So come on down, you guys. Blanca Patch is there, Danny Zucker. We have so much fun. You can check out storysmashshow.com for more information and to see all the pictures from the shows. And then you can also follow Story Smash on Instagram at Story Smash. And again, that's all the show photos, and we have so much fun. You got to come down for that, Kristine.
Oh, honestly, that's such a fun way. If I was here for New Year's Eve, that would be my plan, because those two guys and you are a dream team. So many funny people. They're the funniest guys. And that's the best place to be on New Year's Eve.
Well, it's going to be fun, too, because the show's at 7:30. It's over by 8:45. And so it's still an early night. You don't have to stay out till midnight.
Who wants to?
Because we're old. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Where are you going for New Year's?
I'm going to be in Costa Rica.
Oh, hello. Hello. Yeah. That'll be fun.
I'm going to go into the jungle with my kids because I like to live on the wild side.
I can't wait to hear how you survive that.
Right? Let's hope I do.
No, have you been there before?
I have. Before I had kids, I went with he wasn't my husband yet, my boyfriend at the time. We went and did some exploring.
I haven't been there, but I've heard very good things, and then I've heard not so good things.
I had both good and not good there.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. But the idea of people that want to go and live there and escape there because it's so cheap to live and stuff, but there's nothing else there. There's no culture. You know what I mean? There's
no, I don't want to live there.
Yeah, I know, but it's funny. Some people do. They sell everything and move to Costa Rica.
Sure. Yeah, they're the water's warm and, but it also gives me the John McAfee vibes, You know that guy? Have you ever seen, did you see that documentary about him?
No, tell me.
He started this he got very wealthy because he invented like the McAfee virus software for computers, but then he got really into yoga and like wrote a couple books about it. And then he moved to, I think, Costa Rica because he was in trouble for some stuff and like started having multiple wives that he sort of purchased, and like they were young teenage girls, and got involved with the local mafia situation.
Wow.
And I think he got murdered.
Wow.
But
so, and that's like Jeffrey Epstein. These guys, they just go get islands.
Yes.
You know, and just create their own like thing.
Yeah, they're like, I need a sex dungeon, so I need to go somewhere where I can get away with, like, doing weird sex stuff with underage girls. So I'm not going to be able to do that in the U.S. I'm so rich I can do it somewhere else.
Yeah, essentially that's it. How about Jeffrey Epstein? His airplane was called the Lolita or something.
Oh, God.
I know.
It's like, hi, red flag. Do you need any more evidence of what a creep I am?
Yeah, so crazy. Anyway, so you guys check out Story Smash, like I said, and go over to storyworthypodcast.com as well. Do that, would you? And there you'll see this big thing comes up and it says, join my mailing list. And then you click, yay. And I say, yay. And then I write you just once a week. It's no big deal, not a commitment, nothing on your part. But I get to spill my guts. How about that?
I love it. I'm going to join your mailing list. I want to get letters from Kristine once a week. That's a dream.
Thank you.
I'm joining
fun.
As soon as this. I would do it now, but I don't want to be rude.
Thanks, Kristine. All right, you guys, she's here right now. You hear her talking. Kristine Kimmel, she's a writer and the co-host of How to Survive with Danielle and Kristine. We were talking about it just before. But you've also written, like we said, for a lot of different magazines, a lot of different television shows, and magazines like The Establishment, Mommyish, Mamalode. Yeah. I don't think I know that.
It might not exist anymore.
Dame. And then you did and have and are writing for television all the time. You've written for NBC, Universal, FX, VH1, and more. And you have written a lot of funny things for the E! Channel. And things like that just make me laugh, like Hottest Hollywood Cougar Tales.
Oh, yeah, I'm real proud of that one.
Celebrity Fashion Crimes. Celebrity Near-Death Experiences.
Yep, that was a good one. Put some good stuff out into the universe.
Sexiest from Head to Toe.
Oh, that was fun, because we got to rate, like, sexiest stubble.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Now, who is rating exactly, and how do you find the marks?
It's like
the people.
It's like Javier Bardem's stubble versus. Well, this is probably like, I don't know. This was probably like 15 years ago. I wrote on that show. This was before. So, just let me preface this. Before the Kardashians took over the E! Channel, the E! Channel was tons of countdown shows, and it was like a comedian would tell jokes about something to do with so many different things. Like it was like, who's sexy right now, or, you know, who's been in a scandal. It was like, could be any number of things. So
it could
I
be
wrote
anything.
on a lot of things.
Yeah, the top 20 this, the top 15 this.
Yes.
The top 30 houses, anything. They just made it up.
They just did it. And VH1 was doing those shows, MTV was doing those shows. And it was constant countdowns of like anything you could think of. So when it was head to toe, it was literally like, I mean, you can't imagine anything more humiliating for people. But, you know, I paid my rent. A person's body parts picked apart, and we rated the sexiest from, like, a beard versus another beard. So it would be, like, Javier Bardem's beard versus, like, I don't know, Jason Statham's beard. And then we'd have to write that.
Just ridiculous.
It was so ridiculous.
And you did noses, then you did like chins, mouths, arms,
the pecs,
all of it.
All of it. I don't think it was, we never did like best breasts or anything like that. It wasn't, you know, that.
It wasn't
gross.
Salacious like that. It wasn't
quite that salacious, but there were some shows that I was like, because I remember on Cougar Tales, which I wrote on with my friend Mike, and we would just we would laugh so hard at what they would ask us to do. Like, there was one that was like where they wanted Drew Barrymore to be the cougar, and she was like, I think 32 at the time, but she was dating someone who was like, 27.
Yeah.
And I was like, guys, I don't think she can be a cougar when she's 32, no matter what. Like,
right.
She's so young. It's just silly. Anyway.
It must have been fun, though. I mean, like you said, you would just laugh so hard and just be goofy. I mean, there's just all these different jobs in Hollywood, and some are just ridiculous.
Some of them are just, especially at E, where what they would do to get ideas for shows is they would throw pizza parties for the production assistants and be like, we're going to have a pitch pizza party, where they would literally just get ideas for shows from the production assistants by giving them pizza. Yeah. And the writers, we would be like, don't give them ideas. They're just taking your ideas for free. So we would just come up with the dumbest ideas we could think of, like the worst things. We'd be like, what about 100 most shocking murders of children? We would try to think of stuff that was so horrifying.
Right.
To say to the producer, to the executive, so that they would just not take anything. And they'd be like, it could maybe work. And we had to stop because they started taking us seriously, and we were afraid they were going to make one of our ideas.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, that's just so crazy. I'm just thinking about that Station E. Yeah, they had so many ridiculous shows on. I mean, they still do, probably. I'm not positive. But, yeah, it's just, they just threw stuff out. It didn't even matter if it was good or not. They just were throwing out content.
Yeah. I remember at one point I was doing stand-up, and a guy, I must have mentioned on stage that I was working at E, or made a joke about one of the shows I was writing on. And another comic, literally yelled at me from his set, and he was like, "You're ruining the world."
Oh,
and I was like,
God.
I think there are people doing, worse things.
I wouldn't go that far.
Than me writing on a countdown show. He didn't even know. I mean, now I'd like to see him now and just say, remember when you thought I was ruining the world? You didn't even know what was coming. I was just writing some jokes about people's stubble.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. Yeah, so ridiculous. Well, listen, I'm really excited you're here. You guys can find more about Kristine over at her website, KristineKimmel.com with a K, and also on Twitter, find her at Kristine A. Kimmel. All right, you guys, wherever you are, put your hands together for Kristine Kimmel.
I'm going to tell you the story about my misadventure working on a cruise ship. So first, I need to explain that I grew up in a very small town, Wadsworth, Ohio. And I was the first in my family to go to college, so I really hadn't traveled. I had no idea what I was supposed to do with my life. I was majoring in psychology at the University of Akron, mostly to figure myself out, and I was cycling through all these different jobs through my time in college to support myself and pay for school. I worked at a factory, I worked as a waitress, I worked as a bartender, an office manager, and towards the end of my 7 years of college, yes, that's right, 7 years to get a 4-year degree because I loved college that much, I started working at this little coffee shop in the town square of my hometown. Now, this coffee shop was a very big deal in Wadsworth because it had lattes and cappuccinos, and people would come in and get espressos. And like most surface jobs, it was occasionally fine and enjoyable, but mostly it was hell on earth. And while there, because I was getting so close to graduating, I start imagining this dream of international travel after graduation. Now, what I really wanted to do was move to Los Angeles and write and perform and do comedy and write on a sitcom or be on a sitcom, do stand-up. I basically wanted to be where they made Cheers. And this seemed reasonable to me as like flying to the moon or, like waking up one morning and finding out that like I was related to Princess Diana or something. So instead I thought, okay, I'm going to have this big blowout travel experience and that's going to get this crazy idea out of my system. And then, I can just be really into gardening and craft projects. Like my Christmas newsletter is going to kill. The problem with this big crazy travel idea was that I didn't have any money for traveling because I was working my ass off to pay rent and pay for college. And even with all that, I was still accruing student loan debt. And my boss, Gerard, at the coffee shop, so he's always talking about his glory days on the cruise ship because he'd worked on the cruise ship before he opened his coffee shop. He was like a head baker or, I don't know, head of something. And he'd be like, oh, the fun, those amazing days on the high seas. I think he had sex with a lot of the female guests. And I think he probably said that. This is why I'm thinking that. And so in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I should work on a cruise ship. I'd be able to travel the world and get paid. And I asked Gerard if he could connect me, with someone for an interview. And he's like, absolutely. And I think he might have said, the work's really hard. But I was like, I'm not scared of that. I worked, back-to-back shifts at 2 different bars. I'd worked full-time in a factory. I worked at Kmart, for God's sake. Like, how hard could this be? So he gets me an interview. This is after I've graduated from college. I fly to Miami, and I'm like, I can't believe, my life as an international traveler is really happening. I'd faxed everything. This was when you still fax stuff. And I meet with a man in the office, and right away he starts trying to talk me out of it. He's like...
Wait a second. Who is this for?
Oh, sorry. What company?
Cruise line or, yeah.
Yes, this is for a cruise line, Royal Caribbean.
Oh, for Royal Caribbean. Okay.
Yes.
Is that who your boss had worked for?
Yes. Sorry if I didn't make that clear.
No, it's okay. I'm just curious. I was wondering because I think there are a lot of cruise hubs in Miami, aren't there?
Yeah, I think they're
it's like a big place for cruise offices.
It's like a main hub, I think. So
yeah, for all the offices, the people that book things, and the money people, and all that.
Miami is the hub.
Yeah.
And so the guy's like, this is a crew position, right? And I was like, well, yeah, working as a server, and I have server experience. And he's like, it's a very tough job. We don't usually hire Americans for these positions. Why don't you reapply for a staff position and wait for one of those to open up? And I was like, I'm ready for my international adventure to begin. So, no, I want this crew job that I've already got. And so he asked me, if I'm sure, about 100 more times, it kind of felt like, in how in horror movies, before the couple signs the lease on the house full of demons. And I was like, nope, I'm good. Grab my uniform, my badge. And he's like, all right, well, report to the ship 4 a.m. the next morning. So I don't really remember, I don't even know how I found the ship. I don't have any memories of, getting on the ship. The main first thing I remember was how tiny the hallways were down on those lower levels where the crew sleeps. And that the hallway getting to my room was full of rotting garbage. And I was like, okay, you know what? That's fine. It's probably normal, rotting garbage. It's not going to let this ruin my vision of my new fancy life. And my roommate was this pretty young Latinx woman who walked with me to my first job shift, which I was like, that's so nice. My shift starts at 5 a.m. and she's walking me. And we were stepping over the garbage, and she says to me, now, honey, never walk down these halls alone. Girls have been getting raped. And I was like, really isn't going how I pictured it in my head. So at breakfast, my manager could not get over the fact that I was American. So everyone wears a badge to say where they're from, and I was the only American, and other crew members were stopping me, and then they'd call over other crew members that they were friends, and they were like, can you believe this? An American. One was like, I worked with an American guy once. Yeah, he didn't make it. And I was like, he died? Oh, no. He just only lasted a week. And then someone handed me a back brace and showed me how to lift one of those giant trays. And in my head, I was like, oh, shit, this is really heavy. And then they were like, wait, we still have to put some plates on it. So after my first 5-hour breakfast shift from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m., I was totally crushed. And they gave me a break until 11, and then I went back for another 3-hour lunch shift, and then dinner from 5 to 8 p.m. And then I got to go back to my cot until 11:45 p.m., rush back to work for the midnight buffet from 12 to 3 a.m., and then up at 5 a.m., and it all starts back up again.
Oh, my gosh. Wait a second, just real quick. How
Yeah.
many servers would you say? And so it's basically round the clock. You don't stop.
You don't
except
stop.
for a couple small breaks.
Yeah.
And how many servers and how many people are on the ship?
I mean, I wouldn't be able to tell you how many people were on the ship because you're kind of insulated, but I mean, there probably were like maybe 30 of us. It was
30 crew members. Wait a minute, 30 crew members?
Well, in my little because you're managed by one person and you're doing your own shift, and there's your little group of people, and then there's probably other groups of people doing other shifts. Like
I see.
my roommate had different shifts, so there was just our group did this shift, and I think it was about 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, and then on the seventh day you get a half day off. And I think the pay was maybe like $3.50 an hour. So here's the thing they don't tell you. When you're out on the water, you're in international waters. You're not protected by any labor laws. So they can do whatever they want. They can work you however they want. So that's why the guy was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?" And I was like, "I'm in trouble. This is not, I can't."
So the first day or the second day, you knew you were in trouble?
So at first I was like, well, I'm going to prove all these, they're Filipinos and Ghanaians and Moroccans. And I'm like, I'm going to show them I can do this. I can do this. But like by day 2, I was like, there's no way. I'm not built like, I don't know how anyone could do this. So day 3, I've got these huge dark circles under my eyes because I'm not sleeping. My roommate's working different shifts than I am. And it's not, I can't really sleep. I'm super stressed. I've never slept on a ship before. I'm a little bit, not totally seasick, but just feeling a little nauseated. Mm-hmm. The guy in the room opposite of ours liked to blast Cat Stevens, of all things, which is a really weird choice to blast,
Yeah.
So even to this day, when I hear Wild World, I can still smell rotting garbage. So by day 4, I'm like, I got to get out of this. What do I do? I signed a contract for 6 months.
Wow.
I'm going to die serving Canadian scrambled eggs. So day 5, I'm broke and not mentally and physically. And I think in the crew mess hall, they're serving some kind of fish head soup or something crazy. The food is it really looks like food they'd serve in a prison to the people that work crew. You don't get to eat what the people that are on the ship eat.
No, you eat the scraps, really.
You eat scraps. And I was like, okay, my tough ass Midwestern blue collar factory work and bartending jobs, I'm still a weak American. I admit it. And so I go to some office on the ship, probably human resources. I don't know. It could have been Gopher from the Love Boat. And I'm just sobbing, I think, before he even opens the door. And I'm like, I have to get off this ship. Things aren't working out. He's very nice. He's like, did something happen? And I was like, no, I can't handle it. And he's like, oh, right. You're the American that they put in crew. I think everyone knew about me, And so he's like, would it maybe make you feel better to see some other Americans? Which I thought was so funny. It's like I'd been kept prisoner of war. And, when you're in war and you just see another American person and that's going to make you feel better. But I was like, yes. So he takes me to the staff lounge. And so, this was a long time ago, but I swear, thinking back now, it felt like I was going into the lobby of the W Hotel. It was full of windows facing the sea, and people are smiling and laughing and looking relaxed. And I was like, what in the fresh hell is this? And 2 people come over and they're like, their hair's clean and they have these big white teeth smiles. They just looked like they belonged on television. And I'm standing there, snorting from just crying. And I'm all hunched over from my back hurting. And I'm just assuming he's this woman's in the middle of a psychotic break, so maybe you can just help her out a little bit. And they bring me over to this big round table where they're all sitting and having drinks, and they ask me if I want a cocktail, and in the middle of the table is this giant bowl of beautiful strawberries. And I just burst into tears, and everyone is smiling and laughing, like as if women don't have to worry about getting raped in the hallways a few floors below them. And I mean, truth be told, like selfishly at that moment, I wasn't even thinking about anyone else on the ship except myself, because in that moment I realized like, oh, that experience that I wanted to have on a cruise ship, that international adventure, it was happening. I just wasn't going to have it. So I got off the boat and went home, saved up enough money so I could go backpacking in Australia for 3 months, and never stepped on a cruise ship since.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, did you know you didn't know the difference between crew and staff before? I never heard the difference between.
No, I had no idea, and I feel like that's like.
Is that your dog?
It is. I'm sorry. I know she wants in the house, and so she's going nuts, and so she's just. I didn't know if you could hear her or not through my mic.
In? I mean,
she'll probably stop. Hopefully, she might bark in. But can I let her in, and then hopefully she'll stop barking?
Edit. No worries. Let me ask you one more thing. What was all the rotting food in the hallway? Like, whose responsibility was that?
You know, I don't know. I think it just was a sign that people didn't care about the crew.
Where were the bathrooms for you?
It wasn't. We had a little bathroom in our room, very tiny.
Oh, that was good.
So luckily, we didn't have to share bathrooms with other people, but I don't know. I think I was too scared to ask because I just had gotten there. So I was like, I don't know why.
Yeah, it's just disgusting. Did they wash your uniforms so you always looked clean, as it were?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't stay there long enough to find out.
Yeah.
But you got a couple of uniforms. You had to pay for them yourself. And so...
What a nightmare.
Yeah.
Boy, you were such an American guinea pig for them. They must have laughed their butts off when you left.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. They were like, we knew it. She didn't make it. But I was like, I don't care. I don't care if they laugh at me. I'm happy to be going. They can laugh at me all they want.
First of all, I do know that they hire mostly other cultures or other, other ethnicities. But I didn't know it was about those kind of hours. I mean, I knew it was rough, but that's crazy.
It was really intense. And I think it was like so many things in my life where I just jump into things, And also, I mean,
right. So you didn't know what the difference between crew and staff was?
And I didn't think it was, even when people were explaining it to me, they tried to tell me, I was like, okay, yeah, I think it'll be fine. Like, I can work. I've worked these hard jobs before. I had worked a lot since I was 14 and waitressing, and I had worked in a factory. I was like, I can handle this. Like, I'm young and strong and I can work long hours. Like, I did, but I had no idea. And, I mean, I don't think anyone should have to work those kind of hours.
And all those people have like smiles on their faces in the dining room. Everybody's smiling like they're really happy to be there. I mean, I know it's a big paycheck for some people to take home for their family, and they'll be on cruise ships for a year or even 2 years before they go home.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the issue is that it's like still, and for a lot of people, still more than they can make in the countries that they're from,
Sure.
But it still seems like so little for so much work.
Right. And like you said, when you hit the international waters, nobody's, looking over you.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope that conditions are better and,
I doubt it.
Yeah.
When they had you come into the staff room, what were they asking you questions? Were they like, what happened to you? Where'd you come from? Or, you look like steerage.
So. Yeah, I think so. I think they were kind of shocked, and I talked about it a little bit, and they were like, oh, I'm so sorry. But it was kind of like, what could they do? They were just people like working. They were just young like me, and working their jobs, and I don't think they were in a position to really do much about it.
Yeah. When I was on those cruise ships, it was called Regent cruise ships.
Okay.
Have you heard of those? Regent?
Yes,
okay,
I have.
So those were the ships. And I remember the guy I was with, he did this like his whole life. He performs on these ships. He's been doing it, for years and years and years and years, decades. And he said they always hire the British in the front at the hospitality, like where you check in. They hire the Filipinos for the cleaning rooms, for cleaning the rooms. Filipino for like each room has like a butler or whatever, like a worker. They hire the Italians for the restaurants. They hire, he had this all broken down. It was so racist. It sounded so horrible. Yeah. And he said the Americans are entertainers. But other than that, there's very few Americans working on cruise ships in general.
Well, no, they can't hack it.
Yeah, because it's so wrong. It's
We're
so
not
crazy.
built to work that hard.
People don't know this about cruise ships. You know that. They don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm of a very select few who have ever worked on the crew or seen what that looks like from the inside. I accidentally became a reporter for the inside.
That's so funny that it isn't talked about more. And I guess that's because we're in America and, our friends and family don't do those jobs. But I would like to hear an international podcast about, the real conditions on a cruise ship.
Yeah, well, and I think it's also that it's kind of one of those things that people don't want to think about it if they want to go on cruises, because then they have to think about something that makes them uncomfortable. Like, oh, well, but I like it and I want to go because it's nice and they're all smiling, so they must be happy.
Yeah. Oh, man. They do. I remember on those Regent cruise ships, they wait on you hand and foot, anything you want. If you needed, your shirt, you lose a button, they would just jump on that. Or if you need something ironed, they just want to help you. I don't know. I don't know if that's with all cruise ships that the crew members get that kind of treatment, but I know that it's not uncommon.
Well, I hope not. I hope that was rare and that things are wonderful and everyone is paid well and not overworked. But I would suspect that that's not the case. Yeah,
you're not emailing or you're not pen pals with anybody from the cruise ship.
Yeah, we didn't stay in touch. I didn't feel the need to form any long-lasting relationships.
The only cruise ship I would like to go on one of those 4-day Melissa Etheridge cruises, because I love chick music so much, I can't even tell you. And she has such amazing lineups on those cruise ships. I think that would be a blast. I would love to do that.
Well, you know what? I feel like Melissa's not going to let this shit go down on her ships.
Yeah, right. I would hope not, but who knows? All right, well, listen, Kristine, I'm so happy to talk to you today, and I'm super excited for your show, How to Survive with Danielle and Kristine. You guys can check that out wherever you hear your podcasts. And, of course, you can find Kristine, like we said, over on Twitter at Kristine A. Kimmel. What's the A for?
My middle name, Anne.
My middle name is Allison.
Oh, my gosh. We have so much in common.
It's unbelievable. Kristine A.
I can't handle it.
I know. I'm telling you. Do people think you're related to Jimmy Kimmel, by the way?
All the time.
Yeah, because there is a girl named Jill Kimmel. She's a friend of mine, and she's like my age. You're probably younger than her, but I'm just saying there are a few Kimmels that are related to Jimmy.
Oh, well, I don't know her, but maybe she and I are related.
Yeah, maybe we'll get her on the podcast, How to Survive Being a Kimmel. You don't know.
Yes, that's a good topic.
Anything.
I'm still trying to figure it out.
All right, you guys, one more time on behalf of the very talented Kristine Kimmel, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
My name is Kristine Blackburn, saying, make it a story-worthy week.
Thanks for joining us on the Storyworthy Podcast. We'll be back next week with all new stories. Subscribe to Storyworthy on iTunes and visit the Storyworthy website at storyworthypodcast.com.
Membership fees apply after free trial. Cancel anytime.
Hi, it's Carl Deichler, CEO of Beachbody, and I'm giving away 10,000 free memberships a week to try our amazing Beachbody fitness and nutrition programs. Pick any program and just follow it step by step, like our 21-day fix program or the ab shredding muscle burns fat program. Plus, there's free support in personalized fitness groups with our community of over 2 million members. Now is the time, so don't wait. Go to beachbody.com to claim your free membership and start feeling great.
The General Insurance presents Shower Ballads by Shaq.
And I'm gonna keep on loving you, 'cause it's the only thing I wanna do.
Turns out, everyone does sound better in the shower. And it turns out, The General is a quality insurance company that's been saving people money for nearly 60 years.
I just wanna keep on loving you. For a great low rate and nearly 60 years of quality coverage, make the right call and go with the General.
The General Auto Insurance Services, Inc., an insurance agency, Nashville, Tennessee. Some restrictions apply.